Melton, professor of New Testament and Greek at Erskine Theological Seminary. As we continue to think about the parables, one of the most fascinating parables is also one of the shortest. In Matthew 13, the whole chapter is filled with parables, most of them built around the idea of sowing a field. Where Jesus says, the kingdom of God is like a man who found a treasure hidden in a field, which when he saw it, he covered it up and went away out of joy and sold everything that he had and purchased that field. So here's a man, and he's a day laborer. He doesn't own the land. He works 12 hours a day. At the end of that day, he will get paid the 1 denarius, which was minimum wage. It's hot, he's sweating, he's plowing behind an ox, and all of a sudden, something happens. The plow moves, the plow hits something. And of course, I can imagine that a few expletives may have come from his mouth at that point, because he's got to go and he's got to dig the ox's hoof out and go on with his day's work. And he discovers something that's too good to be true. He's found a buried treasure. He didn't anticipate that day. When he got up, it was going to be just a regular day of work in the hot sun. But the problem is he doesn't own the land. And Jewish law was very clear. It wasn't finders, keepers, losers, weepers. If you didn't own the land, you could not claim anything you found on it. And so he goes and liquidates his assets and comes and buys that field. Now there's another dimension. There's stories from the first century of people who had worthless pieces of land that they couldn't sell. So they would go and plant a treasure in hopes that a day laborer plowing like this man may find it. And while he goes to make the transaction to liquidate his assets, that unscrupulous person goes out and reclaims the treasure, takes it back home, and the man has bought a worthless piece of property. Now, Jesus says, the kingdom of heaven is like all of that. There's an element, of course, of risk. There's an element of incredible joy. There's an element in which the man has to trust his instincts. And when we hear that parable, we are forced to answer not just one question, but several. In what sense is the kingdom of heaven as it's dawning? In what sense is it like that whole scenario of events? And so when the hearers of that parable that day when Jesus was teaching it, when they heard that story, just as we hear it today, we have to conclude, I've really got to go away and think about this. His parables required a response from the readers, from the hearers.